Cuando voy a Maracaibo,
qué bonito,
y empiezo a pasar el puente,
recordando,
siento una emoción tan grande que se me nubla la mente.
Siento un nudo en la garganta y el corazón se me salta.
Sin darme cuenta tiemblo y sin querer estoy llorando.
Oh, es la tierra del Zuliano, un paraíso pequeño donde todos son hermanos, desde el guajiro al costeño. Es la tierra del Zuliano, un paraíso pequeño donde todos son hermanos, desde el guajiro al costeño.
Cuando voy a Maracaibo,
¡venga!
Y empiezo a pasar el puente, siento una emoción tan grande que se me nubla la mente.
Siento un nudo en la garganta y el corazón se me salta.
Sin darme cuenta tiemblo y sin querer estoy llorando.
And Joe the shirt is off the cuff. Welcome back, everybody. That again was more Jose Moran y what's this say? Madricaibo? I cannot pronounce this goddamn word. But welcome back, everybody. Joe the shirt's off the cuff. And today's topic, of course, as you can see on your computer there, if you're just listening in, it's called How About a Little Love for Mexico? In that vein, I've got my tequila shot here. Salud. And my fine Mexican Tecate beer. All right. So, I decided to bring back Jose Moran because I enjoyed his music so much yesterday. And from what I hear, plenty of you did as well. And I wanted to, I thought it was apropos, give a little Spanish flair to what's going on today. I don't know if Jose is Mexican or not. But I did want to talk a little bit about, my neighbors to the south. In particular, I want to talk about Mexico. Now, those of you who know me know I love Mexico. I love Mexicans. I love the Mexican ladies. Okay, nothing but good things to say about Mexicans in general. Just like, I have nothing good to say in general about Canadians that I've met, or Germans, and, just about anybody. But, every group has their own little, enclave of assholes within them. And I think it's gotten to the point, though, that it's hard to ignore, because you guys know me pretty well. Tragedies that happen in the rest of the world, I could give a flying fuck about more often than not. Typhoon in the Philippines, yada, 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 yada. War in the Middle East, yada, 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 yada. And I'll be the first one to admit, I'm very insensitive to these things, more often than not, because, when anything terrible happens here, no other countries come to us offering aid, offering help. Nobody helps us. But, with Mexico, I have to say it's very different for several reasons. One, it's right there. It is our second immediate neighbor. Okay, there's Mexico, there's Canada. Those are our immediate neighbors. They're right there. We are touching. Okay, we are in the middle. And anybody that believes that American culture is not influenced by Mexican culture is obviously not living in America, all right? From the food we eat, to the music we listen to the TV shows we watch on TV, I count at least, one or two Mexicans on American TV. Mind you, nowhere near enough. I'm definitely one of those people that believe that Latinos in general are underrepresented in TV, okay? And also in movies. But like I said, music, food, entertainment, the way we dress, the way we even speak, because it becomes a part of us, especially the closer you live to Mexico. And for instance, I live here in Los Angeles, and if you've never been to Los Angeles, there's a couple of Mexicans here and there, let me tell you. And most of Mexicans I have met are good, honest, hardworking people, salt of the earth types, just nice, polite, Never had any issues with them just for the fact that they were Mexican. I've met some that were complete assholes. Sure, I have. I've met a few Mexicans that were complete bitchy cunts. Sure, I have. But then again, I can say the same thing about Canadians, Germans, Venezuelans. You know, you can say that about any culture. But by and by, like most people from most cultures, except the French, you know, Mexicans are very nice people. I have no problems with them whatsoever. You know, we share a common language. I think it's called Spanish, Espanol. But, you know, it's hard to ignore what's going on in Mexico these days because it just seems to be getting worse. You know, I mean, it used to be a time where, you know, everybody that I knew would love going to Mexico for a vacation, you know, Cabo or, you know, and or even Tijuana. And it's Tijuana, not Tijuana, gringos. Okay, it's Tijuana. But that's probably the only Mexican city I'm going to pronounce correctly today, you know. And Mexico City is incredible. If you've never been there, it's absolutely incredible. Of course, Mexico, the city of Jalisco, or Jalisco, is famous for the invention of tequila. You know, it's just and so much culture down there. You know, we're talking. I don't know if we're talking about Aztecs, Mayans, Incans. It is just incredible. It really is, and it saddens me that they're having such a tough time, whether it be with drug cartels, corrupt politicians, extortion rings, kidnapping rings, just general violence, a complete lawlessness in some areas of Mexico that are completely disenfranchised from their own government, you know, and that is just sad beyond words. I mean, it really is like a fucking movie. It's like El Mariachi or worse yet, Machete, which are both great movies, but I think if you watch Machete or El Mariachi, you get the idea that, you know, lots of Mexico really is not that far from what they're showing you in these movies. You know, the gangs run these towns. You know, people live in fear. And we're talking about everybody. I mean, there's so much going on here. I got a bunch of stories here today for you guys. Here's one for you. Family of 8 stabbed to death in Mexican City. Let's see, Mexico City. Let's see, the attack calls into question the tenuous security gain seen in Juarez recently. Let's see, for the second time in 2 months, the Mexican border city of Juarez is reeling from a harrowing massacre. The victims of this time, a religious family of 8. We're talking about, okay, you ready for this? Let's see, 2 men, 30 and 40, 3 women, 25, 30, and 60, a 7-year-old boy, 2 girls, 4 and 6 years old. All right? The only person in this family spared, for some bizarre reason, was a 3-month-old girl found in the house. Why? By the way, this one hits a little closer to home for me than most do, because the family apparently is a family of Jehovah's Witnesses. Not that I give a shit about religion in general, but my own mother is a Jehovah's Witness, you know? And Jehovah's Witnesses are pretty much some of the blandest, most boring people on the planet. I mean, they don't do shit, all right? All they do is get up, go to work, go to church, you know, and go out preaching and trying to get you to convert. But generally speaking, you tell them to go fuck off, they fuck off. You know, so they are really the most non-threatening people you are ever going to meet in your life. So why kill a family of Jehovah's Witnesses? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it doesn't make any more sense to say kill a family of Catholics either. You know, but I'm just saying, it's like, I've never heard of this kind of violence in modern times against a family of Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, Juarez is, historically speaking, a very, very violent city. As a matter of fact, 4 years ago, the city was ranked by some measures as the most violent city in the world. Most of that having to do with the running turf war between the Sinaloa and Juarez drug cartels. the family was discovered when friends of the family went looking for them after they realized that they hadn't attended services in a while. Now, for a lot of you, of other religions, you don't see so-and-so in church, one day or another. It's not a big deal. But Jehovah's Witnesses go to fucking church like 3-5 times a fucking week. It's literally, it's a religion for them. So when they don't show up, people automatically assume that they're sick or dead. All right, or out of town. And Jehovah's Witnesses leave town, they tend to let everybody in their congregation know about it. So, that's just the first example I got for you guys. Let's see, what do we got here? Here goes another one, another great one here. At least 25 bodies found in 2 graves. This one, digging goes on in Jalisco, or Jalisco. Let's see. According to this, at least 25 bodies have been reported found in 2 clandestine graves. Clandestine, meaning hidden. Illustrating Mexico's enduring problem of people who go missing and the dead who are never identified. This is something that goes on all the time. There were two mass graves. One had 19 people in it. Another one had 6 of them in the tourist destination city of Acapulco. They found those on Friday. Now, according to all the official reports, thousands of Mexicans and Central American migrants went missing during the 6-year term of President Felipe Calderon, which ended December 1st, and during the first year in office of his successor, President Enrique Peña Nieto. These towns are just being controlled by gangs, and you guys might remember it's not just border towns anymore. It's not just, those, far away towns that nobody knows about or cares about. It's also spreading over into American towns on the borders, of like Texas or California or Arizona. I mean, you are having examples of the drug cartels, gangsters, actually threatening people on the other side of the border, politicians, newspapers, ex-Mexican citizens who have moved to the United States but live near the Mexican border to be near their families, but who are being extorted from because as far as the gangsters are concerned, hey, you're still Mexican, you still owe us fucking money. It's absolutely terrible. For most of the missing people that turn up in mass graves, most of them are victims of drug traffickers, kidnappers, extortionists, smugglers, corrupt law enforcement officers, or just rivals. Okay, according to addressing the issue, roughly 26,000 people have been reported missing during the predecessor's administration, that being Calderon. 26,000 people just go missing. Those are the ones that haven't been found yet. Okay, and there's so much going on here because we're not just talking about the cartels going after each other. Sure, they do that. Okay, there's nothing more important to the cartels than their turf and their drug supply lines and making sure they, get to make their product, sell their product, and benefit from their product. But, like a lot of gangsters, they don't just go after the people that they are in direct competition with. They go after their friends, their family, their dog, their entire neighborhood. And these people, they'll actually go around, demanding tribute, not just from the citizenry, but also from, politicians. For instance, politicians, businesses, even churches. Yes, believe it or not, the Catholic Church is in no way exempt from this type of gang cartel violence in Mexico. As a matter of fact, priests are regularly threatened in Mexico from the cartels. Allegedly now, I'm going to mispronounce this, so forgive me. In English it'd be Michoacan cartel or Michoacan cartel. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I'm sorry if I am, but they've been calling priests, calling seminaries, and demanding tribute to them in exchange for respecting their safety. Or in other words, extortion. I'm going to get back to that in just a little bit. We're going to take a little break right now, but thank you for listening in here. Now, a little more Jose Moran. And his first song was Sentil Sultiano, and his second song is Sin Rencor. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff, and I'll be right back.
Le doy gracias al Señor por haberte conocido, pues los años que vivimos fueron de dicha y amor, pero una sombra cubrió nuestro amor en un momento, y ese bello sentimiento, además de sufrimiento, desilusión, me dejó.
Joe the Shirt is off the cuff. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for listening, as always. Okay, we were talking about what the hell's going on in Mexico. How about a little love for Mexico? I would love that. Talking here about a priest in Mexico is being threatened by the cartels now. Apparently, the country's main Roman Catholic seminary is being threatened. In a sermon on Sunday, Cardinal Norberto Rivera Carrera said a vice rector at the Conciliar Seminary of Mexico received several threatening phone calls November 20th and 21st. The cardinal said, demanded 60,000 pesos, or about $4,500, in, quote, exchange for respecting the lives of the superiors of that institution. Quote from the seminary, last week we were meeting in the seminary. They called numerous times and identified themselves as La Familia Michoacana. But of course there's no way to really, be sure that that's who's actually calling. But, it's not far-fetched to believe that they are. Mexicans apparently understand that the Catholic Church generally receives very little immunity from Mexico's wave of organized crime. A lot of things have happened. Way back in May 1993, when Cardinal Juan Jesus Posadas Ocampo was shot to death in the parking lot of the Guadalajara airport. The airport, people. It's supposed to be a secure place, right? Federal investigators concluded that hitmen from Tijuana, from the Tijuana cartel, mistook the Cardinal's car for that owned by a Sinaloa cartel leader, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Although many Mexicans never bought that explanation. They thought, he was being hit because he was actually part of the Catholic Church. Last month, 2 priests were gunned down in apparent robbery attempts at a parish residence in Veracruz State. In October, Miguel Patiño, the bishop of Apatzingán, a city in troubled Michoacán, released an open letter denouncing the power of drug gangs, and then reportedly received death threats after speaking out against them. Now, another part of the problem when it comes to the Catholic Church and the cartels isn't just simply that the cartels are threatening them and extorting them and killing them or whatever, but also is the fact that a lot of Catholic parishes accept donations. They have benefited from drug warlords, accepting large donations from the capos to finance church renovations and community projects. So, it's one thing to, go around denouncing the drug cartels, and then it's quite another when, you're also accepting money from them. You got some cartels demanding money, you got other cartels, giving them money, and then who are you supposed to trust here? Now, are you supposed to trust, the Mexican police? Well, generally speaking, no, you're not. You're really not. Matter of fact, Mexican lawmakers are being accused of demanding kickbacks. Now, before I get to that one, let me talk about the cops a little bit here. We're talking about a country where police corruption is so rampant that the Mexican army had to go in on a couple of occasions and force local police to lay down their weapons, turn themselves in, and be arrested because of their ties to drug cartels. Okay, cops being used as enforcers by the gangs. All right, and so then the army goes in there. They get into shootouts. They arrest the crooked cops. In some cases, entire precincts. Just arrested, fired, sent away. You're done. You're gone. Right. And then we go back to what I was talking about earlier about then we have Mexican officials demanding kickbacks. Some, according to this report here, for the foreign exchange, some have allegedly wanted at least 10% cut of federal projects money from local leaders who are already being shaken down by cartels. So you have somebody like, say, a local mayor who is trying to run his city, trying to protect his citizenry, trying to get things running. But in order to do that, he has to survive threats from the cartels who are telling him, hey, you know what? If you either give us money for protection, or, you're going to find yourself in the trunk of a car someday, or buried face down, or maybe have body parts hanging off a bridge. And then on the other side of that, he's trying to get funding for his city for, say, school programs, for the elderly, for feeding the hungry, and then before he can get these programs, he's got the people in his parliament telling him, yeah, okay, we'll assign some money to you, but I want you to give back some of that directly to me. Let's see. In recent days, Mexicans have seen the depth of challenge facing the men and women charged with running 2,438 municipalities, roughly the equivalent of U.S. counties that are the building block of government here. The mayor of Santa Ana Maya, a rural municipality in, here we go again, Michoacan State, was killed this month after complaining that cartel members were regularly demanding a chunk of the federal money meant for public works projects in his area, a practice, he said, that was widespread. Now, several lawmakers and head of local governances associations recently had begun accusing legislators in the Mexican Congress of also regularly shaking down municipal governments, demanding that they kick back, tithes of at least 10% if they want infrastructure projects included in federal budget plans. So what they're saying is, okay, yeah, we'll give you money for this, but then you got to give some back directly to me. That's what I just said, Let's see. Conservative Party leaders in the lower chamber, Luis Alberto Villarreal, has been accused, of taking 10% cuts of projects last year worth roughly $45 million. So this guy is demanding $4.5 million of the money that he's supposed to be allocating to help the Mexican people. Everybody knows that this happens. Everybody knows it's crooked. But the heightened drug violence in recent years have made it risky business to be a mayor, with roughly, get this now, 44 mayors killed in the last 7 years. How are you supposed to run a country when even at the lowest level of government, you're being screwed by both ends? You're being screwed by the cartels around you. You're being screwed by the politicians above you. And then people wonder why things don't get done. It's really getting to the point where the corruption is so rampant. They just have to do an entire cleansing of the government there. So then the question is, who do you trust? Obviously, you don't trust your local government. You don't trust your federal government. You don't trust the police. You don't trust the federal agencies. You don't trust your president. And then, of course, since you have no one to trust and help you, who is there left to deal with the cartels? Well, that's where vigilantes come in. That's right. In more and more small cities, municipalities in Mexico, more and more vigilante groups are popping up, determined to protect their towns, their friends, their family, themselves from what's going on down there, we're talking about regular, everyday guys, some even American guys who are going back to their home country or hometowns to go and help protect the towns that they grew up in or the towns they have family in. They go in there with the machine guns, their AK-47s, and they... when the cartels come by making their demands, they shoot them. When the cartels are, trying to, extort from people in their towns, they shoot them. And then the problem there becomes that, these guys are also acting illegally. It is illegal in just about every country I know of to be a vigilante, to have your own private militia that goes around doing the government's job. But the question is then, what happens when the government isn't doing their job? When you can't count on the local police to take care of you, when you can't count on the army to come in and take care of you, because there isn't enough funding, there isn't enough people, and there isn't enough people that you can trust to do it. So people are turning to each other, and then the other problem is, do you trust the people who are trying to protect you? Because in a lot of instances, people believe that, these guys that are coming in, these vigilantes that are coming in to protect their friends and family from the cartels will eventually, just become another cartel themselves. Let's see, what do we have here? Let's see, according to this, Mexico has a cartel managed so thoroughly that it permeates society and dominates law enforcement and economic and political life, including city halls, transportation, and even journalism. They go around spouting pseudo-religious rhetoric and casting themselves initially as protectors. They call themselves the Knights Templar, which formed from an earlier cartel known as La Familia. They cornered the production and export of methamphetamine and then expanded to a far wider bribery racket. So these guys that used to be a cartel, they change into a Knights Templar, which is supposed to help the people. What they actually do is then take over, what the original cartel was doing, and then expand on it and try to basically, inundate themselves into legitimate society, while, of course, like any good mob, goes around conducting illegal activities under the guise of legitimacy. So then the vigilantes come in. Residents began rising up earlier this year, becoming so desperate with extortions, killings, rapes, and they're being perpetrated by the Knights that eventually 5 main towns and numerous villages came under control of the vigilantes, who sent the Knights, scurrying away, and in some cases even, tossed out the mayors and other local officials. These, vigilantes came in and said, you know what? We're going to protect our people. We're going to protect our town. We're going to get rid of the cartels. We're going to get rid of the Knights, and we're going to get rid of all the, corrupt politicians and cops. And they did. They literally just took over a bunch of towns. One of these vigilantes is one Jose Antonio Cabrera. When he heard that his hometown was part of the uprising, he left Long Beach, where we had been working as a gardener, and returned and grabbed an AK-47 and decided to protect his family there. The vigilantes wear white T-shirts with the name of their town emblazoned on the front. They are armed with illegally and drive white SUVs with decals pasted on the sides, proclaiming for a free Apatzingan. I'm sorry, I mispronounced. I'm going to keep doing that. Now, some villagers sing the praises of the vigilantes, but they also feel that they're going to turn into a cartel eventually, or that once the vigilantes, maybe get bored or feel everything is okay, that the cartels are just going to come back. Most of these people are afraid to venture very far from their hometowns or to other towns where they don't know anybody, fearing that if they go to another town, there's a good chance they're just not going to come back. And then, of course, there are the people that do business with the Knights Templar or the cartels, who are actually doing quite well for themselves. They've managed to find a nice, comfortable way of dealing with them. They're obviously on the higher side of the money launderers down there, and they oppose the vigilantes because they're in bed with the cartels already, and they say that all it is their government allowing guerrillas to operate within their country, while at the same time they're doing business with the criminals that these guerrillas are allegedly trying to get rid of in the first place. More to come on How About a Little Love for Mexico, coming right up. I'm Joe the Shirt. I'm off the cuff, and here is a little more Jose Moran. This is La Feria. And Joe the Shirt is off the cuff. All right, we are back. We're talking about How About a Little Love for Mexico. I got a quote here from one, Rigoberto Peláez, in reference to the vigilantes working in Mexico. Quote, they're trying to use a seven-headed dragon to kill a one-eyed cyclops. Peláez is a Apatzingan businessman who owns factories and is president of the local chapter of an industry association. Quote, the government is allowing a guerrilla force to be created. The government cannot allow a mercenary to do its work. End quote. Well, you know what? The government cannot allow drug cartels to run roughshod over a town either, but they're letting that happen as well. Now, then let's consider what happens, people have to really understand that what happens in Mexico does really affect, a lot of the rest of the world. Now, I don't really give a shit about a lot of the rest of the world. I tend to give a shit about me and where I live and mine. And that is coming here. Like I said, what happens in Mexico does not stay in Mexico. Okay? It leaks over here. Because Mexican gangs that originate in Mexico and Mexican prisons and Mexican cities, these guys get up and they move to the United States. All right? Here in California, in Arizona, in Texas, as far away as New York. It's happening. And it happens, to differing levels. It would be very difficult for Mexican gangs to operate the way they do in Mexico here in the United States, because we do have a very strong federal and local government infrastructure in most of our cities. So for Mexican mobs to work here in the United States, they have to adopt the way things are being done by say the Russian mobs, the Italian mobs, the Asian mobs a bit more under the radar, not quite as overt. Because here in the United States, when we find mass graves or people hanging off a bridge, we tend to go looking for the people that did that, and we tend to do really, really bad things to them. All right, so but it still affects us, and here's two very differing stories here. I don't know if you guys have heard of Juan Juarez Orozco. He was extradited from Panama. He's one of the biggest drug dealers in Mexican history. At his peak, Mexican drug lord Juan Juarez Orozco allegedly oversaw the distribution of 8 tons of cocaine every month. Every month, 8 tons of cocaine. Okay, we're talking about basically the weight of 4 cars. From Colombia to the United States, making him one of the most wanted narcotics traffickers in the world. The 64-year-old Juarez, also known as El Abuelo, or the grandfather, was in U.S. custody after his arrest in Panama and extradition to New York. Now, they kept this on the down low. Let's see, what was it? About 2 Fridays ago, he was secretly extradited to the U.S. and appeared at a closed-door district court hearing for his arraignment in Brooklyn. Through the 2000s, Juarez allegedly worked with major narcotics traffickers based in Colombia and Mexico. He was affiliated with at least 3 violent Mexican cartels in the recent years that have been at war with one another over lucrative smuggling routes. He allegedly transported at least 35,000 kilograms of cocaine for the Beltran Lavia organization alone. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, well, why the secrecy? Why did they secretly extradite her? Why did they have a closed-door proceeding? Because when people find out that he's around, people start to worry that he's going to talk. And if he starts to talk, then that, directs us in the right direction, and then we go, hunting people down, arresting them, or just shooting them. So obviously, that's something that the other cartels would like to avoid. What I love about this guy is he was playing all sides. He was supplying drugs and drug routes and facilitating these things for multiple drug cartels. He didn't just work for one of them. He was helping everybody out. He was working everybody against the middleman. I mean, it was hysterical. It's almost like being an arms supplier for 2 sides of a war. It's like, hey, yeah, you know what? I'll sell you all these weapons so you can fight your enemy. And then you go to the enemy and say, hey, I'll sell you these weapons. You can fight your enemy. And you know what? No matter what happens, he makes money. He's quite the broker. Then we go to a much smaller scale individual. Let's see, what is there? I don't know if you remember the name, Edgar Jimenez Lugo. Anybody? Okay. He is a Mexican hitman who is paid, by the drug cartels. His preferred way of killing his victims was to slash their throats. He just served 3 years in a Mexican prison. He's being released, and he's being sent here to the United States. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's gonna be. He's got somewhere to live here. He's got a family, apparently he's just coming here. I know you're wondering to yourself, well, how does that happen? Why are we taking him? Well, apparently he has American ties. He is an American-born kid who happened to have been living in Mexico when he was doing these things. He'll be settling in Texas. What makes him unique? He started killing when he was 14 years old. Yeah, he's the guy's 17 years old now. All right, he had originally been. Excuse me, no. He was 11. My bad. He was 11 years old when he began killing. Now, you wrap your mind around that. He was 11 years old when he killed his first victim. He was arrested when he was 14. But under Mexican law, he was a minor and could not be convicted as an adult, which means that, yes, he got the maximum as a minor, 3 years. And now, as an American citizen, which he is, he's coming back here so he can live in Texas. Yeah, I want him as a neighbor. Sure, why not? And it just goes on and on. I remember, I think last year I told a story about, how they started that fire in a Mexican casino where lots of people died, mostly old people, actually, because you had a bunch of old people, in the casinos playing card games, playing, the slot machines. And allegedly, according to what was going on there, the idea was to just maybe shoot the place up, scare the owners into paying protection money, and start a small fire that would not cripple the place, but would let them know that they meant business. Well, that went out of control, and a bunch of people died. It's getting more and more apparent that, and now please understand, I want you guys to know this, especially my Mexican friends, my friends that do live in Mexico. I'm not an expert. I cannot begin to, tell you, what's going on in your country the way you can. I'm doing this mostly for the people here in the good old US of A, to give them a heads up as to what's going on right next to us, that will sooner or later infect us more than it has already. Not that we're perfect. Believe me, the United States fucks up aplenty. But now I'm talking about what's going on in Mexico, and I say, I'm no expert. I would love to be able to say here this is the way to fix things. When it came to the casino, I did propose the plan that you have to hire real security. That is what happened in the United States in Las Vegas. In Las Vegas, when things got out of hand, and things in Las Vegas did get out of hand for quite a while, the mob was running rampant there. They couldn't depend on the local police. They couldn't depend on the government. So what did the casinos do? They hired their own private security forces, armed them with guns, and nobody goes around ripping off Las Vegas casinos and gets away with it. Oh yeah, Las Vegas casinos have been robbed, but everybody gets caught. When it comes to the big scores, they get caught or they get shot. And I think more and more, maybe the vigilantism is the way to go. Maybe private security is the way to go. It's obvious you can't count on your local police, your local governments, and in many cases, you can't count on your federal lawmakers because they are perpetuating the problem by demanding, kickbacks, bribes. My heart goes out to you guys. It really does, because you may have noticed I'm not doing any celebrity birthdays today because I wanted to make sure that I had enough time to get this out. My heart goes out to you guys. It really does. It is terrible, and I also know that part of the problem is the United States, because nobody gets more Mexican drugs than the United States. We buy more Mexican cocaine, methamphetamines, marijuana, and any other drugs you can mention than anybody else. Okay, Mexican drug cartels do not have far to travel to sell their product. Okay, they don't have to go to Germany. They don't have to go to China. They don't have to go to Japan or Russia. No. They don't have to take a boat. They don't have to take a plane. They can pretty much more often than not just take a walk, cross the border, drive over. Maybe take a short boat around. The patrols. But it's very easy to see where they're going. They're going to the United States. I have on a couple of occasions here and there visited Mexico. I don't like the idea of buying drugs in Mexico because I don't know people to buy from in Mexico. I like my weed. But I try to avoid trying to go shopping in Mexico because they do have laws there, and I don't have enough money for bribes. So anytime I've been to Mexico and I felt like smoking weed, I brought my own. And you know what? Mexican security going through the airports, they're not looking at me to smuggle drugs into Mexico. Nobody's worried about smuggling drugs into Mexico. They got plenty of drugs of their own. Like I said, the only reason I don't buy there is because I don't know anybody there. But, but that's why, all my drugs I buy right here in the good old US of A. I got my medical marijuana card. I buy my alcohol. And I don't involve myself in a lot of other drugs. I've done ecstasy a couple of times and mushrooms a few times. But, I buy American. And I think that's important. I think if you're out there, stop buying illegal drugs imported from Mexico. You're just contributing to the problem. Not that you're going to actually do it, but I'm just saying. In any case, that's my show for today. Thank you for listening. I'm Joe the Shirt, and here's more Jose Moran and his song, Tamborera Madricaibo. Never say that right.